Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. We are talking 1984 college football today with the help of second and 10 football. So 1984 is a pretty cool season. I guess cool is the wrong word for it. BYU won the national championship. Of course, back then, the voters decided who won the national championship, and they won the Holiday Bowl and then kind of waited out and kind of backed in a way as well. And so we're going to go ahead and figure out, though, who the best team was in 1984. Now, what I did, and I've done a video before on this as well, but what I did is I went to season tools here, and I went tournament, but I chose random draw. Teams we randomly place in the draw. Subsequent rounds will also be randomly drawn. Okay? And then I went ahead and I placed the 32 top teams from 84 based on their sports reference FRS systems, simple rating system. Okay, and so when what I got was this thing right here. And so here it is. This is week one, and this is the opening draw of round one. And if you win, you advance. We don't know who you're going to play. You're going to play another team that won, and we keep on going until the final game, which will be at the Rose Bowl for the national championship. So some pretty cool matchups here. I'm going to play these drive by drive, um, and I'll have some in the channel as well. And so some interesting games here. So first off, let's kind of go through the SRS ratings. BYU was a national champion, but they were the fourth best team according to the SRS rating. Simple rating system, which simply takes into account your point differential and strength of schedule. Is what they go by. So BYU was four in this. Okay. I'm sorry. So, kind of going through Illinois, Boston College, the first round matchups. Kind of preview this real quick. Of course, Doug Flutie, um, 14-point favorites right there. Boston College. They were kind of give you some matchups here. Boston College was fifth in the AP poll and fifth in the SRS ratings. Illinois was 23 in the SRS rating, was not ranked in the AP poll, final poll. Let's go through Virginia and Georgia Tech. Let's preview that one there. ACC matchup here. I need to fix Georgia Tech's thing. Georgia Tech 12-point favorite in that one. Kind of give you an idea about Georgia Tech. Virginia was 14th in the SRS, 20th in the AP poll. Georgia Tech 25th in the SRS, and they were not ranked in the AP poll. Oklahoma and Tennessee. Let's preview that one on the road. Oklahoma. Tennessee's 4-point favorites here in that one. Tennessee was, let me find them. They were 13th in the SRS, but they're not ranked in the AP poll, so kind of an underrated team in that respect. Oklahoma was eighth in the SRS and sixth in the AP rankings. So a pretty good matchup there, 8 and 13 going at it. And the reason why I do it like this too is because this is how kind of the college football season goes sometimes. Sometimes your biggest game is in week one. Sometimes and it used to be, now with a 12-team playoff, that one loss kind of knocked you out most of the time as well. So it's kind of a cool way of playing it that way in terms of the matchups. So Oklahoma, Tennessee, Washington, Florida State. That's a good one right here in Tallahassee. Pretty even game right there. Washington was number three overall, and Florida State was number seven overall. Washington was number two in the AP poll. So this is a top 10 matchup in terms of SRS rating. FSU was 17th in the AP poll, so a little bit underrated, but a top 10 SRS rating. So that's a good big game right there. That one of those teams will be out in week one. South Carolina at Army. Now, if you know anything about Gamecock lore, and I do, unfortunately, the Gamecocks at one time were ranked number 2 in the country, and they were headed towards a big matchup, a big national title, and they lost on the road to Navy late in the year. Navy was horrible, and so pretty fitting. They're going to go on the road to play Army. Now the Gamecocks are 15, 15 in the SRS rating and 11 in the AP rank rating. Army is 32. They're the last team in the SRS rating, 32. So the Gamecocks should have an easy time, but it's on the road. And look what we have right here. We have Army as 4-point favorites there. So I really hope the Gamecocks do not lose that one here. Auburn and Kentucky. Let's preview that one. SEC matchup here. Tigers versus Wildcats. Auburn 7-point favorites. Auburn also has a guy by the name of Bo Jackson. Bo Jackson was not the main ball carrier. Brent Fullwood was, but he's in the mix there. He can do some damage. Auburn and Kentucky. Auburn was, let me find them here. Auburn was 10th in the SRS ratings, 14th in the final poll. And then Kentucky was 27th in the SRS rating and 19th in the final poll. A rare big season for Kentucky. A little bit overrated, though, in terms of their ranking in the poll, though. So Auburn plays Kentucky. Florida at ASU. Now, here's the interesting part about this. On the road in Tempe, and the Gators are 8-point favorites there. That's a good Gator team. How good of a team is that Florida Gator team? They're the number 1 ranked team according to the SRS. They went 9-1-1. They're ranked 3 in the AP poll, but their SRS was number 1 in the country. And so they'll play Arizona State, and Arizona State was 31 overall in the SRS. They weren't ranked, so they get a pretty even matchup there. Almost like that almost is, if ideally if we were drawing this out, they'd play the 32nd ranked team. They're playing the 31st ranked team in this, so they get a pretty even, easy matchup for them there. Southern Cal at Ohio State. This is a pretty good matchup in terms of brand names. Right here, Ohio State 5-point favorites right there against the men of Troy. Ohio State, let me see, they were 12th overall in the SRS, 13th in the AP poll. USC, 24th in the SRS, but 10th in the AP poll. So a little bit overrated. The AP poll overrated them a little bit there, so a good matchup there. Iowa at Notre Dame, and Hawkeyes have a good team. They're 2-point favorites there against Notre Dame team. Let's take a look where Iowa was ranked. Iowa was 22nd in the SRS rating, 16th in the AP poll. Notre Dame was 26th in the SRS rating, was not ranked in the AP poll. So not a great Notre Dame team. And then Syracuse, Miami, a future Big East matchup, a future ACC matchup. And they go on the road here. And Miami are 8-point favorites against the Cuse of Syracuse. I'm pulling for the Cuse. And kind of give an idea here. Miami in '84, they were 16th in the SRS, 18th in the AP ranking. Syracuse was 29th in the SRS, and they were unranked. Now, Syracuse's claim to fame in '84 is they knocked off Nebraska, which really ruined their season. I was at that game, by the way. A 10-year-old myself. Actually, I was about 9. I wasn't quite 10 yet. I was at that game. So Syracuse has pulled off the big upset '84 team. We'll see what happens there. LSU will take on Clemson, and we're all rooting for LSU. Um, 2-point favorites there. We're hoping for a Clemson South Carolina matchup to be kind of nice. But LSU was 11th in the SRS, 15th in the AP. Clemson 19th in the SRS. They were not ranked, so Clemson was a little bit underrated in '84. I'll give them a little credit there. Not. So we'll see what happens there. West Virginia at Arkansas. Pig Suey. And a good matchup there. 3-point favorites there. The Mountaineers of West Virginia coming on in. Let's take a look and see where their rankings are here. Arkansas 17th in the SRS, not ranked in the poll. West Virginia 21st in the SRS, not ranked in the poll. So pretty even matchup right there in round one. Georgia goes to South Orange, New Jersey. Piscataway, New Jersey. At Rutgers. Georgia 2-point favorites right there. Let's take a look at this at the records here. Georgia's 20th in the SRS, not ranked in the final poll, and Rutgers is 30th in the SRS, not ranked in the poll there. So interesting matchup there between those two teams. SMU at Oklahoma State. This is a game about running back. Reggie Dupard, a good running back in the day. And I believe you got Thurman Thomas in this one as well, 84. I believe, am I wrong? Rusty Hilger. Am I wrong about that? It wasn't Sanders. It was Thurman. It was a Thurman first. Thurman Thomas. There it is. Thurman Thomas, the running back right there. Which took like a big time year for Thurman. A good OSU team right there. SMU was 18th in the SRS, 8th in the AP polls, a little bit overrated. Oklahoma State was 6th in the SRS and 7th in the AP polls. So one of Oklahoma State's big seasons. Maybe they can be a team that does some damage there. Maybe they'll match up with Oklahoma if they both can win. Maryland at Air Force. We've got two academy teams, Air Force and Army, in the top 32 in '84. Navy was horrible, but of course they did their damage to my beloved Gamecocks. Maryland 1-point favorites right there. Um, let's take a look here. Maryland was 9th in the SRS, 12th in the AP poll. Pretty good there. Air Force was 28th in the SRS, and they weren't ranked in the final poll. Last but not least, and that's the big game. BYU, often thought of as kind of, not a legit national champion, people, and so forth, and they will find out right away. They play Nebraska. The Cornhuskers go on the road to BYU, and they're 5-point favorites. And Nebraska was number 2 overall in the SRS. They had that loss to Syracuse, as I mentioned, close in their 4th in the AP ranking. BYU was 4th in the SRS, and of course won the AP ranking. So the 2nd and 4th best teams, according to SRS, meet up in week 1. That's what's cool about this way of doing it, is you get that big matchup early on. Nebraska, who did they lose to? They got 2 losses. One's to Syracuse, I knew that, and they lost to Oklahoma as well. So they lost to Oklahoma as well, 17-7. But a really good team right there, and a great game. And this game will be on the channel. We'll have it on the channel for you for sure, for sure. But let's take like some possible um, second round matchups that could be pretty good. Um, in '84, Oklahoma State could be a possible matchup in round two down the road. Oklahoma, Nebraska. There's a rivalry game right there. Clemson, South Carolina. We mentioned before that could be a game flipping round two. Who else? Georgia Tech, Georgia could be a possibility in terms of that. Notre Dame and Southern Cal are big um, rivals. Florida State and Florida, of course. Florida State and Miami. Miami and Florida, you got those 3 Florida schools in there that could match up as well in the round two. Um, and so who else? Tennessee, Auburn and Georgia is a pretty big rival too. They could match up. So you could have some good matchups there. Um, who else am I missing here? Washington, USC. That could be a Pac-12, Pac-10, Pac-8 rivalry matchup there, and so forth. So some good stuff here. Notre Dame, Miami, Catholics versus convicts 4 years prior. That could be a matchup as two Army and Air Force. If my Gamecocks bow out and Air Force pulls the upset from the Army and Air Force in the top 16 going at it. So a lot of good possibilities here. So kind of a cool way to play second and 10 football. But check it out. I'll have it on the channel for you. I'll have some games and I'll have updates as we go through and I play these games out. and so forth. But I'll have a few games on the channel for you. Illinois Boston College will probably have that on there for Doug Flutie. Um, my Gamecock and Army will probably have in the channel. SC Ohio State will be in the channel. Nebraska and BYU will be in the channel probably for sure. Um, and maybe Syracuse, Miami. We'll see. So those will be in the channel for the first round for sure. So keep on checking out. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day.